Good morning, everybody. Time for a little breakfast with shrimp. As we know, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And for me, since high school, that has been a strong cup of black coffee and some good old fashioned marijuana. Now, this is the homegrown ghost shrimp goodness right here, grown in the Ghost Shrimp National Forest. And this is my trusty PAX 2. This is my go to. I dry out the herb a little bit and I put it in here and it hits just fine. And this is a little less harsh on the lungs than just smoking a straight bowl, which we all love that, but we're trying to go for longevity here, sustainability here. So let's hit this old PAX. You know what I'm saying? I thought it'd be nice to start the day with y'all, answer some fan questions. So if y'all have any questions for your boy, 20 years in the game, I got a lot of experience in basically all forms of visual art, professional, coming up from the bottom. And ask me them, shoot me them. We're going to do some of these videos and have some fun with it, right? I pre-gamed a little bit. Already had one of these. Already had a cup of coffee. So I'm ready to go. Took a nice little shower. Grab a cup of coffee. Pause this vid, pack a little bowl, get a little vape going, get a little dab, whatever your pleasure, is really important to start your day on your terms, right? Get a good night's sleep. That's number one. Get hydrated, get that water flowing, and get that yummy, yummy breakfast, that black coffee and that green weed, y'all. That's what we need, y'all. If everybody in the world started their morning this way, we'd live in a better place, right? What would you ask me? If you could ask me anything, what would you ask me? What would you ask Mr. Ghost Shrimp, right? So today's questions are coming from Cicely Ashford. Not sure exactly where she's from. Let's see. Where would a Cicely Ashford be from? Maybe over the pond, maybe in England, or maybe Cicely Ashford, maybe somewhere here in Nebraska. Does that sound like where Cicely Ashford would be from? I don't know. Shout out Cicely. She asked me great questions, and we're going to tackle them here today. So her first question is, what were your first steps once graduating? So I went to Pratt in Brooklyn, and then, had this real insight at the time that if I, went back to suburban New Hampshire where I had spent my teenage years, that it was going to give me more creative freedom than if I try to stay in the city. I saw a lot of my friends going working for ad agencies, going to jobs where they're really industrial jobs, art industry jobs, right? And I knew right off the bat that I was not interested in that, right? I was never going to work a job where I was told what to do, right? I hated high school. I worked jobs since I was 14. I worked paper route, toy store, dollar store, hardware store, right? I worked all these jobs. And I just didn't like being told what to do. It's just not my thing. I knew that art was my key to freedom. I knew that my creativity was going to create a path for my life where I could create my own reality, where I could be the person that I wanted to be and live the life that I wanted to be and create a legend about this character that I wanted to create, right? And here we are today, Ghost Shrimp 20 years later, living in the Ghost Shrimp National Forest. Mission accomplished, but we're just getting started, right? So it was a great insight to go back. Spent the summer with my parents, got a couple apartments with girlfriends around the area, $300-400 rent. Started working for the New York Times. I had met with them before I left New York City through a buddy. Matt Hollister gave me the contact info. Went in. They said they could use my work. Would get about every month I was getting a job from the New York Times, an editorial job that took me about 3 days, gave me about $500. And that basically paid my bills for the month. At the time, I was spending maybe $30 on groceries. eating healthy, making a big salad for the week, making a big soup for the week, and really just dialing in, getting focused, right? After a couple years, I started, getting into Camp Ghostwood, building my first cabin on my buddy's land. Really following my intuition. Intuition is everything. If you quiet the world and you quiet your mind, you can listen, and life will tell you what the next step on your path is, right? If you're looking down, you're not going to see it. If you're looking up and looking around and you're curious and you're thinking for yourself and you're outside the box, it's going to be a lot easier to see where you should go, right? You got to look outside the crowd. You got to look up around and see what your unique story is. You are unique. You are like nobody else. So why would you want to follow everybody else? Why would you want to do what other people are doing? I had a real insight that if I wanted my work to be unique, that I had to be a unique character. I had to live a unique life, right? So I started doing that. I started going door to door to coffee shops and different businesses, bagel shops and music venues, and doing album covers for my friends, doing shirts, doing posters, doing labels, doing logos, right? $100, $200, $300, free for my friends. Maybe I get $500 here and there. One time I got $3,000 for doing a logo for a coffee shop in Massachusetts. I was like, oh shit, that was like big bucks back then. Now that's pretty much like the minimum I'm looking for to do a job. But it was great. It was very empowering. I went out there and I created my own destiny. I went out and made it on, by going out and doing it myself. I know that I have the tools to do this. I'm not going to rely on someone to give me work. I'm going to go out and get work, right? I never work for somebody. I go and say, this is what I do. Would you like me to do it for you? And they say yes or no, right? It's never changed since I was walking around, working for my friends, working for local businesses, to working for the biggest companies in the world. Nothing's changed. My attitude is the same. I draw for fun. I make money so that I can keep drawing for fun, right? There's a big distinction there. I don't draw to make money. I make money so that I can draw what I want, right? There's no amount of money in the world that would be worth sitting and drawing something I don't want to draw. I'd rather pass that up, sit down, draw what I want to draw, and then put that out into the world so that someone will pay me to do more of that, right? The worst mistake an artist can make is to do work they don't like and put it out there, because then you're gonna force yourself to make the decision when someone comes to you and say, I want you to do more of this for money. You go, and then you're just working for money. You're not working for creativity. You're not working for the art gods anymore. You're not working for the kid inside you that wanted to be an amazing visual artist. So my audience, has always been the childhood version of me and the art gods, right? Everybody that came before me, everybody that's coming after me, the continuum of inspiration, the cycle of artists, all the people that I looked at and made me want to do work. I want to be one of those people where people look at my work and they want to draw, right? And that's the biggest compliment that you can get as an artist, I think, and I get that a lot. And that is like, that's better than big. I'm going to the Grammys. I'm doing all this. And I'm being serious when I say this. It means more when some kid tells me, or some professional who saw my work as a kid is like, you made me want to draw. That means more to me than any outside validation, right? Number one, I love my work and I have fun with it. And number two, I want to make other kids out there want to do the same thing, right? Because that was given to me and I want to give that back. That's really important. So that was where I started out, right? And then, I got into building my cabin and living in a fort in the woods with my dog. And of course, that destiny manifested my opportunity to go design the world for Adventure Time and work on Adventure Time. And that really took my career to another level. That really took my notoriety to another level, right? There's nothing like getting on the world stage to show people exactly what you have in your brain, right? And again, if I had always been waiting for people to tell me what to do, I wouldn't have known what to do then. I would have said, tell me what to do. But they said, we want Adventure Time to take place in a Ghost Shrimp world. And I said, hold my weed, let's fucking go. You know what I'm saying? I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't know what a background was. I didn't know how the animation industry worked. I had no formal training, yet I was able to step into basically my first animation job. I had done a little bit of freelance storyboarding and stuff that really wasn't a good fit. And then I got linked into this situation by knowing Penn and Pat and them seeing that it would be a good fit, and me just going like, I don't know how to do this, but I know what to do. So let's fucking go. And it was a perfect fit and it went. And fit is everything. Like, fit is the only thing that matters when you're talking about working with clients, right? Not money, not prestige, it's fit. I work just as hard on a job for, someone that hires me that for their album, for their first album, and they made it in their basement than I do for MF Doom or, this Gravity Falls record or anything. Like, my job at the desk is to have fun at what I'm doing and to blow my own mind, to show up and show out, to step up, to get my rep up, to try to do my best work every time I'm at the desk, because I know when that work goes out into the world, it's going to live forever and it's going to advertise me and my business. And I want it to be something that I'm proud of. I want every single piece to be as good as it can. Now, they aren't always, there's always stuff that goes out and you're like, damn, like that didn't hit as well, or I was kind of reaching there and I wasn't quite there yet and that didn't come together as well, but that's all part of the process, right? Success and failure, two sides of the same coin. It's all money in the bank. Y'all gonna hear me say that over and over again. You're never gonna have success without failure, and the main thing that's gonna stop you from having success is being afraid of failure. I'm a fuck up. I fail at a astounding level, and that's how I succeed, right? My failures are right there with all my successes, and that's what drives you forward, right? All right, so and she said, does that make a difference where you are now? Absolutely. I started out figuring out really what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be, and I set the tone for my career. And now we're here 20 years later, and I've never worked a job that I wasn't inspired by, that I wasn't fired up by, and that I wasn't able to have fun with at the desk. If something isn't fun, if something doesn't sound fun, if a client doesn't seem fun, I'm out. I've literally quit jobs, high level jobs, studio jobs, everything. If the vibe isn't right, it's not worth my time. Like, not like I'm this special guy, but like I do this for fun. So like, there's no amount of money you can pay me that changes that equation. Like, there's not a price tag on fun. You can't buy it back, right? I always say to people, how much does it cost to buy your career back, to buy your time back? Time is the most valuable commodity. Inspiration is the most valuable force in the universe. And there's no price tag on that, right? The greatest billionaire in the world can't buy the fun that I have at the desk, can't buy the inspiration that I receive and transmit. So, that's priceless. And in that way, I am a fucking creative, absolute billionaire, right? She said, how did you find getting work in the industry as a background designer? So, yeah, I kind of stumbled into it, as an illustrator, just got kind of invited in there because I was creating worlds, and clearly I had a vibe to my work and a voice to my work, which I think is the most important thing as an artist. Like, what you're selling as an artist is your point of view, is the world through your eyes, right? And you are always challenging yourself to push your creativity, to push your technical ability, to level it up. And when I say, people sometimes get intimidated when you're like, sit down and make your best work. What I mean by that is, when I sit down, my mentality is, I'm going to challenge myself technically to go beyond what I've done before, and I'm going to challenge myself creatively to go beyond what I've done before. I'm going to try to push it because that's fun, that's exciting. I sit there for the same reason I did when I was a kid, to be like, I have this thing in my head. Can I get it out on paper? Can I draw it? Like, is that possible? And then, you do it, and you're like, that's kind of like it. That's kind of like it. And then like 3 or 4 pieces down the road, you go like, oh, I did it. And it's like, and then you show like your parents, like, oh my God. And they're like so impressed because like your parents love everything. And then, or at least mine did. And I do when my kids show me, right? And then you show your friends, and like, oh shit, it's like, and then you show some other kids, and like, that sucks, whatever. It's like, that's just the vibe. But, that's still the same reason I do this stuff for. So I stumbled into it, and it was very intimidating at first. If y'all ever heard the Ghostshrimp Friends podcast, you've heard me talk about it. It was definitely very intimidating, but I persevered. I was very motivated to do it, and again, because I had that world championship mentality, because I had that attitude that I like a challenge, because I'm a sports fan, and when you're watching sports, you're watching to see the toughest games, the most competitive games, and the superstars, your favorite players, step up and rise to the occasion and hit a grand slam dunk, touchdown to win the game. So I want to embody that as an artist. I've really approached my art career like like an athlete, like a, like it's sports, except I'm just competing with myself, right? Just as an athlete will tell you, they're on the court competing with other people, but really the game is against yourself, against your own mind, against your physical limitations, and against your high watermark, against your high bar. So I'm out here just competing against myself, and sometimes I win and sometimes I lose, but it's always progress, right? Like we said, progress and practice. Like practice makes progress. You're never going to be perfect. Nothing's ever going to be just the way you want, but you're in there to find the nice surprises, right? You're in there to be your mind blown, to be delighted by these happy accidents, as David Lynch would say. So once I settled into it, I loved it. I was at the right time in my life. I was 28 years old at this time, right? I was 5 years into my illustration career. I was already starting to make a name for myself, and this was the perfect opportunity to really show people where I was at. And then in the 2.5, 3 years that I worked on Adventure Time, I did probably the same amount of drawings that I had done for my entire life, right? Like you're doing so many backgrounds a week, a dozen backgrounds a week, which may sound like a lot to outsiders, but anybody that works in the industry, they're probably like, that's all you did, right? Like I said, I wasn't trained at it. I didn't have the speed necessary to do 30, 40 backgrounds a week like a lot of people do now, and probably then too. But I had the special ability to really create this world, right? I was the perfect fit. I was taking my childhood from rural New England and making it the land of ooh. I knew exactly what that world was. They had tried other people to create the land of ooh, and then when I stepped in, it was like, we know what we're doing. Here we go. We're off to the races, right? And my goal in not having training as an animator was that I'm an illustrator. This is a huge illustration job. I know I'm here for only a certain amount of time. I'm not trying to live in the animation industry. And I'm just going to take my recurring dream world, my nostalgic childhood world, and I'm going to, fill this space in this cartoon with it, and it's going to be the biggest character in the show. That was my goal, and I feel like I accomplished it, which is pretty wild since it was really my first job in the industry, right? But it was the perfect fit. It was the perfect place, the perfect time, and I was the perfect guy to do that job. And I was surrounded by the perfect people. Nick Jennings, the art director, let me do my thing. Kelly Cruz, the producer, let me do my thing. And of course, Penn and Pat and the whole crew, they had confidence in me and they let me cook, right? Were there any specific challenges or things you do differently now? I mean, right now, if I were to take a background job, at that time I was working like 80 to 100 hours a week. I wouldn't take that job now because I have kids and I want to have balance in my life. At that point, like alls I wanted to do was draw. I would, even if I didn't have a job, I would be drawing 80 to 100 hours a week. I'd draw, 10, 12 hours a day, easy, and sometimes more. So, there wasn't anything that was going to stop me from doing that. So I had the mentality and I had the routine and the habits to tackle that job. If I had to do something like that now, at that point I drew it on paper. Now I would definitely draw it on the Cintiq. For the last year, I've been drawing fully digital on the Cintiq, and it makes the process faster. I can do it a lot faster now doing that. So if I had to do it now, but would I change things? I don't know. It's that's a whole. I'd have to kind of like dive into my mind and think about that. I'm sure there are other realities in which I took other approaches. It definitely could have been easier if I wasn't so stubborn about technology at that time and I had just gone on the Cintiq like everybody else was doing and like they recommended. It probably would have been smoother once I got rolling on it. But I'm stubborn and I had to do things my own way, and that was all part of it. That was part of the legend. I was in a specific place at that time, and that's what I had to work out. So yeah, there was a lot of challenges, just that I wasn't trained for it and that I didn't know what I was doing. Those were the main challenges, and the pace of it. The pace was a challenge. It still would be today to do that much work. Like I don't like, cause I like to, my process is to let things marinate. Like when I was doing those 12 backgrounds a week for Adventure Time, I was like, getting them all started at once and working on them all at once, laying them all out and literally working on them all at the same time. So I could be like, okay, I get this idea for this one, and now I'm going to put that idea in here, and then that led to another idea on this one, and then that's going over here, and I would let them marinate over the whole course of the week, all the pieces, and I would keep like cross pollinating and propagating ideas from one to the other. And by the end, I would have these layers of storytelling that, is kind of the signature of the Land of Ooh, right? And of my illustrations as well. If you look at the raw trays, you look at my more complicated work, it's all layers of storytelling. Like I started out doing much simpler work, like pre-Adventure Time and then post-Adventure Time. And during Adventure Time, I really leveled up my technical ability in detail and world building and storytelling. And that was really what I was focused on, was just the storytelling in the background. I wasn't just going to draw a setting, like a wall and a window and a horizon line and a forest, right? I was gonna put my stamp on it. I was gonna put that ghost shrimp flavor, that ghost shrimp magic in there. What would be your ideal job or commission, and what has been the highlight of your career so far? I mean, my ideal job is just someone being like, "We love your work. Here you go. Do your thing," right? And the better the fit, the better the outcome's going to be. So, Adventure Time was an absolute dream job. The Raw Trays, absolute dream job. The MF Doom cover, absolute dream job. The Gravity Falls cover, absolute dream job. But really, like all the album covers I do, if there's one genre I love the best, I think it is album covers, and that's what's so cool about me going to the Grammys for Best Packaging on February 4th. Um, because that's really where I started. I started in high school doing album covers and posters for my homies, and so it's the same thing, right? If you can ever stay in touch with that direct line to where you started making art, you will never go astray, right? Like that's why I've been able to keep that, right? I still love the same things. I still do the same things. I have the same process. I create for the same reasons, and I've done album covers for my entire career. My first job, album cover, going to the Grammys for album cover in 3 weeks, right? So, and I'm sure this will lead to more great album cover opportunities too. So if there is an ideal job, it's album covers, because I love hip hop so much. I love music so much. I usually create to music for most of my career. But again, the Raw Trays, it's like I smoke weed every day. So the Raw Trays, when they reached out to me and said, we want to like send you gear, and that led to us talking and coming up with this idea to make the Raw Trays, and I'm gonna wear that work to the Grammys because that's my favorite stuff that I've ever done. The first Raw Tray, this as I dump a bunch of fucking shit on the thing here. The first Raw Tray here this is my favorite job that I've ever done. I feel like this is the most Ghost Shrimp piece that I've ever done. When you're trying to say something as an artist, this is my world. When you're talking about creating your own reality, creating your dream world, turning your brain inside out and sharing it with people, that's it. So yeah, and the other ones too. I mean, this one is like definitely more technically advanced than the first one. Definitely more, this is probably the most complicated. I'm pointing at the second one here if it's not in the frame of the square for Instagram, but y'all know what it is. It's the rainbow monochrome second Raw Tray, and then the third one is kind of the red magenta monochrome, because it takes you all the way back to the back of the second tray. If y'all notice, it's a storyline, and maybe we'll even continue those on. I'd love to do another round of Raw Trays. I'm always chatting with Josh, so maybe we'll get some more going. He loves those suits that I mocked up for that I'm getting made for the Grammys, and so he might even want to make those. So we'll see. We'll try to get you to those. We'll try to make those available to you guys one way or another. You guys and gals and all the beautiful humans in the universe, right? Yeah, and what's the highlight of my career? Those are definitely the highlights of my career. And yeah, just like the number one, the dream job, and really I only go for dream jobs, so like the bar is just like, do you want me to do my thing? Do you like my work? If so, yes. So really, it sets me up for every job to be a dream job. But then yeah, like if it's a great fit, and it's a world stage, if there's a big audience, that's obviously going to be great, because there's nothing like when MF Doom hit me up, when the Raw people hit me up, when Cartoon Network hit me up to do when Penn and Pat said we want Adventure Time to take place in a Ghost Shrimp world, that destiny, that's destiny, like opening a secret portal that you didn't know was there, and like you have a certain skill level, but you know that the minute you enter that portal, it's going to require you to like tear your skin off and like grow an entirely new, better skin to like perform at a higher level at this place. You know, when you come out and you're just going absolute Super Saiyan, your Pokemon fucking leveling up or whatever they do, and like, you know, you're raising your Jedi level, whatever metaphor you want to do. You're getting your new Iron Man suit, right? Mach 420, you know. You know, it's those are the things, you know, that's where greatness is made, right? It's my goal was just to have a career where I got to do what I wanted to do, but obviously your dream of all dreams is to like is to be able to do that on the biggest stage in the world. I grew up watching cartoons, so I knew that, you know, when I got the job to design a world for a cartoon, like, my God, now kids like me are going to be watching this, right? I always think about that. Kids like me are going to be watching this and inspired. Stoners like me are going to be using these raw trays and getting inspired. Hip hop heads like me are going to be looking at this Doom cover and being inspired. Gravity Falls fans are going to be looking at this Gravity Falls lore that I put in this goddamn cover and be inspired, right? That's the best. That's the highest level. So she's got more questions here, but we've already busted out almost a half hour. We're going to cap it. We're going to be back tomorrow with some more Breakfast with Shrimp. So if you enjoyed this, share it with somebody that will also enjoy it, and we will be back. I'm going to take you on this journey with me. So we're going to kind of pregame it all month, and then we're going to go to the Grammys together. So there you go. Have a great day, y'all. Be super inspired, be super hyped, and remember, we all have more in common than we have in conflict. So seek to inspire one another rather than argue with one another or break each other down. We're all on the same team. All right. Yo,